Well, hey guys, what's up? Nice to see you. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian Whistleblower. I know we were just here, but now we're back with The Last Stand, our regular Monday night show. So glad to have you here. This gentleman is a gentleman that I had the pleasure of meeting, and I do mean gentleman, a pleasure I had meeting back at the LeakCon in Denver. We had a chance to sit down and talk about some of the strangeness of the Denver airport, a lot of things that were going on. And we decided that we should get back together again. Sorry, Ken, that it's been so long. But ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce to you my friend, Ken Schwartz. How are you, my friend?
Hello. Good to be on. Thank you for having me.
Hey, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure.
I guess I'm Ken Schwartz. I'm a research scientist, and I founded a company called C60 Purple Power. And I'm kind of a spokesperson for Carbon-60. I don't know, a lot of your viewers may have not heard about Carbon-60 or Buckminster fullerene. It's C60 for short, and it just has amazing health properties. And we'll probably talk about that some more later.
Excellent, excellent. Now, we were just chatting a little bit before the show about, the Epstein absurdity. And it's funny how, something that crazy, that ridiculous can happen. And already the mainstream media is kind of trying to wipe it off the front pages. No one's even talking about it anymore. And I think it really was a huge red pill moment because there was so much joking and so many people saying, oh, yeah, he's going to get suicided. Then it happens. And I think a lot of people, this is a good opportunity for us to really press in our movement of trying to get people to realize, hey, this is the tip of the iceberg. There's more to it. Ken, do you see it as potentially a real red pill moment for a lot of people?
Well, I think it is. I mean, they've had some polls and they said 48% of the public doesn't believe the lie, and 24% do, and another 24% or so are just sitting on the edge, don't want to go one way or the other. So, yeah, it's just beyond ridiculous. It's absurd. 2 days before it comes up, where Epstein was obviously blackmailing through for some intelligence agency, presidents, prime ministers, princes, and all kinds of other powerful people. And then, dead men tell no tales, or whatever happened. We really don't know.
Ain't that the truth?
It's just that he's not on trial.
Well, Ken, when you think about it, 48% of the public, at least that respond to these polls, are saying, no, we don't believe it. That's extraordinary. If 48% of the people don't believe the mainstream media, from my point of view, that's a win regardless.
Oh, it is. It's a huge win. I mean, people are slowly starting to wake up. There's still a mass of blind, obedient followers, but I think, it's getting so obvious and it's hurting, economically. A lot of things they're telling us, oh, it's the greatest economy ever. Well, that's not true for most people. So it's just, one lie after another lie after another lie after another lie. It's just getting to the point where people just have no faith in the government or the mainstream media or anything else. They're just lies, and that's all they've ever been.
Well, at least people are waking up to it now. I hope so. I hope that people are waking up to it. And, speaking of waking up, you introduced me to this Carbon-60 product. A lot of people, don't know what it is. Jay Campbell does a lot of extensive research on supplements and is really big on physical optimization, and it has Jay's full endorsement. And Cynthia and I have been using it for a great result. Please tell people a little bit about what it is, Ken, and why it's so beneficial.
Yeah, Carbon-60 is a carbon molecule. It's 60 atoms shaped exactly like a little soccer ball. And it was discovered by Harry Kroto and just a couple other people. And they discovered in 1985. They got a Nobel Prize in 1996 for it. And then, it's a new molecule. So when they went to testing it, they found that it doubled the lifespan of animals.
So there's a Nobel Prize awarded for this.
Oh, yeah. It was a long-standing mystery. There was something in outer space between the stars absorbing infrared light. And it had to be a molecule because it was a wide band of absorption, but nobody knew what it was. They're called DIMS, diffuse interstellar bands, or DIBS, diffuse interstellar bands. And they finally discovered it, got the Nobel Prize for it. And then the health, just amazing health benefits from it. They've gone on from that initial study. And basically, they doubled the lifespan of animals. And it did that primarily by completely preventing the occurrence of cancers and cognitive decline and all kinds of other degenerate diseases associated with aging. So, they didn't just live, the rats just and the mice just didn't live longer. They lived long, healthy lives before they went away.
Interesting. So this was obviously, it's been researched under laboratory conditions. It's won a Nobel Prize. What are some of the anecdotal stories that you've heard of people that have been actually using it in their own lives on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, well, it's the key of C60. It's like an ultimate antioxidant, and we have anecdotal. I could give you a list of them. Like I had one, the testosterone thing. We had a guy. He was Russ. He was taking. He had low testosterone, 300, and so he got rubs and creams, and took him up to 750. And then he started taking C60, and after several months, he's up to 1300.
So the C60 really also helped increase his testosterone levels.
Yeah, part of the thing, C60 has an amazing, it's an antioxidant, and it can do the job of SOD, sodium superoxygen dismutase, catalase, glutathione, and CoQ10. And when it gets into the mitochondria, as we age, a lot of those antioxidants are provided by the cell to the mitochondria, and they grow less, like a lot of things when you age. Well, when C60 gets in and completely replaces the missing antioxidants, so now your mitochondria can run the way they're supposed to. So you get all the ATP. But another key thing that the mitochondria make is pregnenolone, which is like the fundamental building block of all the hormones, the originating chemical. And the cells take that to make testosterone, estrogen, cortisol, DHEA, adrenaline, neurosteroids, thyroid, various ones. And so not only do you get your ATP back, you get all the building blocks for the hormones. And then once those are available, then the cell can convert them to whatever the hormone the cell wants or needs, the body needs, and then it can improve your health. And it's just amazing thing. They've had things where it not only gets rid of your arthritis, but it also stimulates stem cell production. In fact, that's something really interesting. I have a friend, he took telomere tests before he was taking C60. He was like 54, and he telomere test about 53, pretty much after 3 years of taking C60, he went in, he's now like 57, and he had a telomere test of somebody who was 38 years old.
Oh, that's interesting.
So literally, you get younger with C60.
We've had people that, as I'm just watching the chat, some say that Two Trees says it changed their physique. Robin Ledford says that she's had great success for it with MS. Of course, we're not making any diagnoses here tonight. And Two Trees brings up, Nancy Volkner says eyesight improvement. Two Trees says, and I don't know, maybe you could speak to this, that it's excellent to take with CBD.
Yeah, that's the CBD. Well, CBD, they act differently, but it's like peanut butter and chocolate. They go well together. Well, I can tell you the story.
Nancy says it's improved her dog's health.
Oh, yes, we do have that. Yeah, it does incredible things for dogs. It just brings, they're old and gray, can hardly move. You get them in there, next thing they know, they're running around like they were much younger.
Interesting. And Ken, Rocky Stucci and I are working with a company called Verve. They do CBD. It's organic, highly quality controlled. They have a proprietary formula. They're veteran owned, and they find that it works great for post-traumatic stress, anxiety, sleep, pain, and epilepsy. And as some people have said in the chat room, pair that up with C60 and you've got a real potent combination.
Oh, yeah. We have vets that are using C60. It does help post-traumatic stress syndrome. But part of that, I think, is, their adrenals are burnt out. And, a lot of things as we get older, a lot of pregnenolone, production goes down, which is the base hormone, right? And then if your body's under stress, all that is being stolen to do the stress hormones, right? And so there's not enough for testosterone, neurosteroids. And so once that's restored, then everything can be working and it helps. But, there's a lot of other things vets have to go through to get over post-traumatic stress, the pathological damage that occurred.
Ken, where does it come from?
Well, it was discovered in the stars. It's found in nature. Some meteorite impacts make it. Lightning strikes on trees makes it. Even a wick of your candles, maybe of 0.25%. But most of it's it has to be made in a lab. And it's made pretty much the same way that it's made in like giant red stars in outer space. They get a a carbon rod, 2 carbon rods, run a big electrical current through it and a light helium atmosphere, like a tenth the pressure of Earth's atmosphere, and turns that to a powder, and they have a little fan in there that blows it, and then they collect that, and you might get 10% C60 out of all that carbon. And then there's a whole elaborate process of separating the C60 just from the carbon junk. And that's why high purity C60 is more valuable by weight than gold.
That's very interesting. That's very interesting. Now, how do you know that you're getting a quality C60 product versus, one that's maybe not so good?
Well, it's probably established market. I mean, we have certificates of analysis coming in of all of our inputs. We have all organic oils. C60 has to be dissolved in an oil. And so we use all organic oils, avocado, coconut, and olive oil. And the thing is, you have to go to a legitimate person. I mean, you go look at their website. There's some people on. There are a lot of C60 scammers element out there. Where I'm C60 Purple Power. You can see our logo in the back. And there's other established producers of it. But there's a lot of fly-by-night that just came in. And, I get reports all the time. I tried this product. It didn't do anything for me. I tried your product. It works. And I'm not the only, quality producer, but you just have to be really careful. And these people that are offering you really cheap C60, it's more valuable by weight than gold. It costs a lot to produce, right? So if they're giving you this deal you can hardly believe, well, there's probably a reason not to believe it.
So it is more valuable by weight than pure gold. That's amazing. Is it because of really the difficulty of the processing to get it to where it needs to be for your body?
Yeah, it's just the processing of the whole production process of C60. It's extremely elaborate and expensive. A lot of you have to recreate the atmospheres of giant red stars in the laboratory and make it that way. So
that's true.
And then you have to separate it, and it's really hard to separate. You have to use this whole elaborate different ways of doing it, but and that just takes a lot of time and labor, and that's why it costs so much.
How long does it typically take for somebody to start to see results from C60, and what will they start noticing first?
Oh, well, it takes about 3 days before the first things, but by a week, but it takes about 10 days they estimate around 10 days for it to cycle through the body. So by the time you get to the 10th day after taking, the dosage, you're going to be kind of in that zone. But you'll notice after 3 or 4 days, you'll get more energy. A lot of aches and pains get in there. Motivation increases. Part of that is, when you don't have the neurosteroids, your brain can't work well, and then you can't produce the dopamine you need. So, and people get like a huge amount of motivation. They get off their butts and actually start doing stuff that they haven't done for years. It just brings that youthful energy back to people. And a lot of the aches and pains, and there's so many degenerative health diseases. In my case, it got rid of my macular degeneration.
That's a thing in your eyes, right?
Yes.
Interesting. Well, I noticed you're not wearing glasses.
Well, I do have contacts, but at least I had a friend, Gary. He was a coworker with me in the whole thing. I was a story we could get into maybe later, but he had severe wet macular degeneration and, lesions in the eye. I have a show called the C60 Show, and I do it the second and fourth Wednesday of every month. And you can find it on YouTube, the C60 Show. But we have one like Eyes on C60. Yeah, Eyes on C60. And we actually have Gary's pictures of the inside of his eye. And you see all these horrible lesions from wet macular degeneration. And then he used C60 for a year. And after a year, you can look in the eyes again, and all the lesions, they're healed. And so it saved his vision. He's an engineer, does a lot of, designing and stuff. And so he would have lost his profession and everything. But
that's amazing.
Well,
you're a scientist. He's an engineer, so that sounds like it's good to have people like that recommending and producing this product.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
There's just all kinds of amazing stories we have of people. It's of what C60 is. I have a list here. They had a limp, it went away. Detoxifies from Lyme. Gets rid of age spots. So you can use it topically. It's good, like mosquito bites, put it on the mosquito bite. After a couple of minutes, it stops itching.
Oh, wow.
Adrenaline weak, it went away. Persistent cough went away. They used to have a weak bladder. That's healed. Coffee headaches, no more. Leg cramps went away. Mental clarity came back. Weak nails, now they're strong. Stem cell increase, that's another thing. We had people with stem cell. We had like a 70-year-old guy, and he went in to get his stem cells, and he'd done it before he went in, and this time he had something like, I don't know, 23 million, some huge amount of stem cells that you'd see in a youthful child, almost in a child. Yet he had that in himself. We've had a lot of people who do stem cell therapy. They take C60 and they have the highest stem cell counts that the stem cell people have ever seen. And
interesting.
It just all goes on and on. Yeah, we got better nails. Afternoon fatigue goes away. That's with me. Like a lot of people have white hair, it starts coming back in. Salt and pepper. Heartburn went away. Weight loss. People tend to lose weight. Skin itching, all that. Bad knees. Because one of the things they found, it literally not only stops the arthritis, but it stimulates the stem cells, which then go in and regrow the cartilage. So literally regrow your knees. It's just endless. You can go to our site, c60purplepower.com, and we have a experiences section, and you can just read amazing testimonial after amazing testimonial. It's amazing. And if anyone if you know anybody who's using it for a while, they will tell you just the amazing things that it's transformed their lives with.
Well, that's fantastic. So let me circle back just for a second to the Jeffrey Epstein. If I put you on the spot, which I'm about to do, would you say that he is dead, or is he still alive and in custody and being probed for information?
I think they rubbed him out. I think he's dead. Dead men tell no. They could have smuggled him out and put a fake one in, maybe, but these guys, they're ruthless. And these guys are guys that invade nations and kill millions of people and plunder whole continents, right? What's one dude in a jail cell somewhere? They just rub them out. No problem at all. That's just the way they are.
Yeah, that's interesting. I kind of think he's still alive, but who knows? It's an interesting speculation. Now, I have a friend who I don't think he's in the chat room tonight, but he has a lot of experience with some of the cloak and dagger type figures. And he talks about the fact that even though we don't know it and we don't understand it, even in the highest levels of government and high finance, there's a lot of what he would call dark magic that works. I know that you have some experience and understanding of things magical. Would you dismiss out of hand the fact that there might be some dark magic involved in these cloak and dagger world, behind the scenes of our world?
Oh, it's key. It's there. That's the basis of it. I mean,
really?
Satanists run world. That's what it is. The highest levels of finance, government, religion, you name it, Masons, they run it. This is an ugly fact of Earth, but here it is, and it's, maybe someday in the future or a judgment comes upon the planet, but, it'd be nature's judgment, not.
So it's C60purplepower, right? .com. Someone's asking.
Yep, C60purplepower.com. But that's one of C60's amazing things. It seems to stop people from being bad. That's another side effect. That's just, it's just, people take it and they lose their propensity for evil. So C60 has another interesting benefit, and it allows manifestation of like things that you're wanting to manifest, things just to happening to make things work better or whatever your goals are. It's just like people show up, things happen. It's always have this magical ability itself. So
what do you attribute that to?
C60 what's interesting is RNA fits, the C60 fits exactly in the groove of an RNA, in the side groove of DNA. And in the early Earth, meteoritic impacts make C60. C60 is water phobic. It doesn't like water, but it's lithophilic. It likes fat. So C60 would have been the ideal place for RNA or DNA chemistry to form. And there would be probably geologic deposits of C60, on shorelines or hot springs or wherever that would gather. And so there is some evidence because C60 does the job of SOD, superoxide dismutase, catalase, CoQ10, and glutathione. It does it better than that, especially in cells. So it's almost like the life's original antioxidant, and life came up with these other antioxidants as a replace for C60 as history of Earth moved along.
That's fascinating. And I was just thinking that if your body is not having to compensate for different and various ailments, then it can concentrate on, you're just activating your spiritual centers as well too. So I think we really are a spiritual being at the end of the day. So it's very, very interesting. And a couple people have echoed that it is very powerful for manifestation in their life.
Yes, it's a thing. But C60, it's a superior. It's a selective antioxidant. Takes out like all the high energy things like superoxygen, which is oxygen with an extra electron, the oxygen singlet, hydroxyl radical, hydrogen peroxide, but it doesn't mess with the lower energy ones like nitrogen oxides. That's an important signaling pathway. Because a lot of times you take antioxidants and they wipe out all the ROS, reactive oxidative species, but you need some of there for a balance. So C60 is really selective. It only works on the really nasty, powerful ones, and it doesn't interfere with the ones the body uses for cellular signaling. So that's another mystery. It just kind of works, and the cells know how to do it. They just uptake it. The mitochondria uptake it. There's a whole process. In fact, I'll have a show this Wednesday if you want to learn a little bit more about it. We always have a little article with read. It's live at 11 o'clock Mountain Standard Time on Wednesday. And we also do it on Facebook and a couple other platforms.
So how did you even discover this about C60? How did you get into it? I mean, being of a scientific mind, it sounds a little bit esoteric for a scientific-minded fellow.
Well, I was working on a fusion reactor project. It's called metal oxygen fusion. And, that was kind of in charge of the project. So I went, when I did all the research and studying, pretty much every scientist who'd been working on this similar was dead. It was like the late Dr. this and the late Dr. that. And, this is a new fusion process, and we didn't know what was going on,
I'll bet.
And so I didn't want to become the late Ken. And so I went looking for, another radiation protectant to cover my ass because I didn't really trust the shielding. And we don't really know what we were dealing with here at the time.
Gotcha.
And so I discovered C60. So I got a couple of bottles, I got couple of sources of C60. We started taking it while the reactor project was going on, and we call it MOXIE. And by the way, it did work successfully, and maybe someday we'll place a significant amount of energy for the world. But as about 7 months after, I've been taking it on and off because my health improved. I just had more energy. I lost the afternoon blahs. It just, everything seemed a little bit better. I wasn't a straight taker. I take it down then. I wasn't doing the best, job doing it. And about 7 months after, I went into my eye doctor, and I had the beginnings of dry macular degeneration, which eventually leads to wet macular degeneration. So he goes in there, he looks at one eye. It wasn't too bad. Then he looked at the really bad eye, and he looked at it, and he was looking at it for, like a minute and a half. Now I'm starting to sweat. Oh my God. Then he puts down the light and he opens up the file, where my pictures are. And he's looking at that, and he puts the file back down, takes up the light. He's looking at my eye again. Now I'm really sweating. Oh my God, I'm going to lose my vision. He puts the light back down. He opens the file, looks at it again. Then he puts the light, looks at it again. Then goes on. And at the end of the session, he told me that my dry macular degeneration had disappeared, and he'd never seen that in his practice. And I mean, this guy, he's in his 70s, late 70s, and so he was really surprised. And he had seen treatments for macular degeneration, but the side effects were so bad. He said he didn't prescribe those because it'd be better just to lose your vision than go through the horrible side effects of the available treatments. So that was the thing. And then later, Gary, he learned that he had that real serious macular degeneration. So we got him on the C60, and it cured his up. Because after that happened, I said, hey, my eyesight is important, my health's important. So I learned how to make C60 preparations, and I just made it for friends and family. And then my local healthcare practitioner, acupuncturist, chiropractor stuff, they wanted some, and it worked for them. And then they started giving to their patients, and it kept going and going until one day Cliff High mentioned it on one of his radio shows.
Yeah, Cliff's a big proponent.
Cliff High and Sarah Westall, and that kind of 100th monkeyed the whole C60 into public consciousness. But even today, this is like the people that use C60 are even before the early adapters, maybe in the cutting edgers. You can go out there, not even 1 out of 100 people know anything about C60. So if you know something about C60 or you're listening to the show, you are like the cutting edge of reality and understanding.
Absolutely. And Professor Bauer, everybody knows and loves him here. He says, this is Robert Bauer, he says that Ken is a superb mind and his product is superior, that he personally has used it for over a year, and the results speak for themselves. So high praise from Professor Bauer.
Well, thank you, Professor. I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's Robert Bauer. He had been the co-host with me here on The Last Stand, and we just got together and said, you know what, we don't really need a co-host because we want to give more time to the guests, and he's so stinking busy. He was glad to be able to go and, take this off of his list, because he's got his own, couple of radio shows and working constantly. So he's doing a lot of stuff. So we really appreciate having him on. Paul says, is there another name for C60?
Oh, it's called carbon 60, and it's a scientific name, Buckminster fullerene. Harry Croteau and Jeffrey Small and Robert Curl, they were all aficionados of Buckminster fullerene. And Buckminster Fuller even imagined such a molecule might exist because, he's all into the geometric domes. And so they named it in his honor. So scientific name for carbon 60 is Buckminster fullerene.
Interesting. So that is the scientific name for is it an element? Is it an atom? What is it?
It'd be an allotrope of carbon, or a natural form of carbon. So it's in the same category as diamond, graphene, or graphite. It's
interesting.
Its own category. There's a fullerene, and there's other different types of fullerenes. This is carbon 60. It's perfectly spherical. There's a carbon 70, and there's like an 84, and there's a few others. We don't recommend taking the 70. We had some the C60 is well researched. They've tested C60 at 1 million times the amount that a normal person would take, right?
Right.
And in testing rats, and there was no toxicity, even at 1 million times the amount a normal person would take. The rats probably weren't happy because they were shoving lots of oil down their throats. But yeah, there's no toxicity of C60 at any level, none. It's
interesting.
Just amazing.
I'm getting a question over and over, and I don't know if this is legit or not, but I'll throw it out to you. A lot of people are saying, wouldn't it be better to just take shungite powder? What do you think about that?
Shungite has very, very low levels of fullerenes, and it has a whole mix of them. And you don't use carbon 70. We had some biohackers try carbon 70. The results were very bad. So don't use carbon 70 because it's more shaped like a rugby ball. So it had problems. But no, shungite has really low levels. And actually, the Russian government doesn't recommend people using shungite because it's been sitting in the ground for millions of years, and it does have higher levels of metals in it. It's accumulated some metals like mercury and vanadium. I think certain deposits are better. Certain types of shungite are better than others, but there is a heavy metal thing in shungite. And the C60 is just so small in shungite. You just have to take huge amounts of it. So it's really not a practical source. We get it from the library. We get it from the laboratory. Our C60 is 99.99% pure C60. And then we mix it with organic oils. And of course, we do all the testing. We do testing before, we do testing afterwards, safety, biological contamination, everything. And to do that takes a lot of money. It's not cheap to do all that, including the cost of C60.
Now, Jennifer Roberts asks, is there any known research of C60 being deliberately inhibited or suppressed by what she calls the powers that be?
Not yet. Well, we had one of our suppliers his whole production got bought out by NASA. So everything he was making on to them. But they were buying so much C60. Every NASA employee could have had it. They were probably just passing it down the lane until the government developed its own C60 production. So yeah, the government knows about C60 and they're using it themselves. So.
Interesting. And Professor Bauer adds in again, the science behind the chemical geometry that you're describing is a very he says it's powerful frequencies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's something. Yeah, and it's interesting. Yeah, C60 has something like 100 some incredible 100 with 17 zeros quantum states, because each molecule has it. So 60 atoms, and it multiplies by some insane number. So yeah, C60 is just an amazing molecule, and it's used in a lot of things too, not just for your health. There's all kinds of electronics and other chemistry that C60 is used in. It's become quite a ubiquitous atom in science.
I'm thinking people say that it's good for manifestation, and I'm wondering for those of our listeners, and we have a lot of them, that are actually folks that practice magic, practice divination, literally do practice focusing their intention. And I'm wondering how C60 would affect someone who's trying to do that, do magic, do focused intention.
We have a lot of psychics and dowsers and other people of that type that's UC60. And what they describe it is it gets rid of the static.
I like
That's how
that.
they describe it. It's like, it gets rid of the static so that they can see or perceive clearly. And it brings, of course, a lot of mental focus as well for the ordinary person, but the psychics and the Dows, it just gets rid of the static. So whatever it is that they do, they can do clearly. And the signals and the messages come through without getting garbled up.
That's fascinating. That really is. What about C60 has surprised you the most?
Well, I think that just the number of health benefits it goes through, and that it just goes on and on. These different things, like it not only works in like a medical thing, but we're seeing it working like in the psychic or the woo-woo world, whatever you want to call that, and all these other things. It's just, yeah, and it grows more and more. It's just every day I learn, people write me and tell me some new health problem that I usually never heard about that C60 helped them with. And C60 doesn't cure anything. What C60 does, it gets rid of the oxidative burden, toxic chemicals. I mean, they did things where one study they did, they gave like one set of rats, control rats. One set of rats were given carbon tetrachloride. And the other set of rats were given carbon tetrachloride and C60. And not only did the rats live, 3 times longer than the C60 rats live 3 times longer than the carbon tetrachloride rats, they lived twice as long as the control rats. So, even with the carbon tetrachloride that they were burdened with. So, in today's modern environment where they got every hideous toxic chemical, it's in our food, it's in our plastics leach it, it's just everywhere. In our water supply, you're breathing it in the air. C60 gives you that advantage because it's kind of a preventative measure. It gets in there and it prevents the damage that all these toxins can cause you. And it's also great for radiation. They did things where they had one set of rats didn't get C60, the other set of rats got C60. They hit them like a multiple dose of fatal radiation, and like all the control rats died, and virtually all the C60 rats lived up to the 30 days until they cut them up and examined them.
How about in relation to things like 5G?
Yeah, that's another thing we C60, because C60, I actually did, a lot of people have been calling in and they had like light cataracts, and they started taking C60 and their cataracts went away. And I actually financed a study by a research PhD, and we did a study of people. It's just a small 3-month study with people with cataracts, and the cataracts didn't go down that much in 3 months, even though they had pretty heavy ones, but everyone's vision improved significantly. And so it was probably a lot due to the optic nerve, but a lot also maybe a little bit to the cataract. And one thing about the 5G, there's over 20,000 studies out there about the negative health effects of the microwave band frequencies, okay, on a variety of things. And one thing the 5G type frequencies do is they cause cataracts. And because, a lot of times they'll do this, they'll say, oh, it only heated up the tissue to this certain temperature. Well, there's something else going on here. It's like when you go let's say you put a bowl in the microwave, right? You got some soup in it. You go reach into that ceramic bowl and it's super hot, but the soup has hardly gotten warm at all, right? So the microwave frequencies will interact with proteins and DNA and RNA a lot stronger than they do with the water. And they can cause those. And so basically it's the way cataracts is caused by oxidative damage. It's the same way with egg white. Egg white is made of protein. Your lenses are made of protein. When they get heated, egg white turns white, right? When you get oxidative heating damage, by microwave radiation or ultraviolet radiation, it causes the proteins in your lens to turn white, just like egg whites do. And so what C60 do, being a ultra antioxidant, once it's in there, it's everywhere. I mean, you could take, like, here's a bottle. This bottle here might have 10 to the 20th C60 molecules in it, right? And that's a huge number. You might have 10 to the 17th. That's 10 with 17 zeros. That's just like, so they're everywhere. They're in your lens of your eye, and they prevent the oxidative damage from happening in the first place. And then also they help the body heal what's there. And so that's the key thing. And we have no idea. There's a lot of these studies where the rats only live twice as long. They actually, some of the rats just wouldn't go away. So they had unfortunate accidents. So the study would end and the people could publish. So we really don't know how long C60 can extend life. And most of these rats were like middle-aged rats, or, in their 30s, you could say.
Right, for
when
a rat,
they started taking C60. So, yeah, we have no idea what happens if somebody in their 20s or, teens or 20s starts taking C60. It's going to be a long time, because if you double the human lifespan, people could be living to 120 years, quite possible.
Interesting. Interesting. Now, I'm trying to wrap my head around the 5G thing. Part of me thinks that I'll be able to adapt as a spiritual being and phase into a frequency where it's not going to hurt me. I know that there's been a lot of, I'm trying to read up on it, and on the mainstream media, it's hard, but there seems to be a lot of fight about the health of it. But cities are really pissed about it too, because for some reason, the federal government is not allowing the cities to set the price for the poles of these people that are putting up the 5G. Usually with most utilities, they get to say it'll cost you this much per pole, but the government is forcing that to be artificially low. So the cities don't like the fact that there's going to be all these ugly antennas around, and they can't even really get a good price on it. So my question is, why is the federal government forcing and pushing this implementation of 5G? And the only thing that I can wrap my mind around right now is, on the less nefarious realm, is it is going to create basically a super easy, connectivity control grid that we can monitor everybody in real time. But it'll be just like I just watched the other day, the one with Tom Cruise, Minority Report, and he's walking down the road and it's like, hi, Mr. Jones. I see your shoes are this. And it would be all this personalized advertising because they'd know who you were. They'd know where you are, and they'd have all your data instantly recognized. So, I don't know if the government, if I'm not thinking nefariously, I know that they're at least looking to make a lot of money on it, and not for the local people, but for, I guess, the people that are in bed with the great big telecom companies.
Yeah, it's follow the money thing. They have estimated the cost, the price, the business generated by making, the Internet of Things, which is all based around 5G, is $7 trillion to do that. That's a lot of money for a lot of businesses. And they passed this law. They base it on the old telecommunications law, but the FCC put out some other things. And they basically, there's nothing the cities can do to stop them, really. And they're not even required to inform consumers or other people that the 5G is going in. They're just going to shove it right through, and they pass this law, and then they put out directives and executive orders. So there's really no way to stop it coming in. But there's thousands and 20,000 studies in this stuff. It's like asbestos. It's like, the cigarettes cause cancer. They know that this stuff causes cancer, does all this health damage. They already know that, but they're going to shove it through anyway because of the money. And, and they will. And it will go a while until the bodies and the physical damages start piling up. And then the lawyers are going to come out. And there's even more fierce things than the government. So yeah, once the lawyers come out on it, they're just going to, just like they took Johns Manville, got taken down by asbestos, and they won't have any excuse. They knew that this was going to be a problem. They knew it's been health benefits. They actually tried to make big 5G towers like a 4G tower with that amount of energy. And basically when they turned it on, birds were falling from the skies and cows were like staring up in the sky and losing their milk. They did some of this in Sweden and rural areas, just terrible things. And so what they did, well, we can't do that. So they broke it up so that they have like little bitty 5G antennas everywhere instead of one big one, because if they made one big one, it would be a little obvious. So you have all these little bitty ones everywhere. You have to put something like 10 to 30 times the number of cell phone towers, I mean, they only go about 60 feet, because if they were any bigger, they'd be obviously toxic. And the thing is, they pulse the data. They could, you can put the higher the frequency, the more data you can do. So what they do is they package the data and they pulse it, but they also aim it at your phone. So if you're walking down a street with 5G, they act just like phased array antennas or radar. They will literally target you, and they'll be zapping your phone as you walk by. And
so they're basically bringing the cloud to you, aren't they?
Yeah, and then they're cooking you too. Think microwave oven. And they found, like, for instance, they say it's all absorbed in the skin, but they found that, like, our sweat glands, they're full of salty water. They're conductive, little coils. And so they take the microwave, that radiation, much deeper into the body than you would then, because they say it's all absorbed in the skin. No, it goes deeper, and it causes skin cancers and other types.
I wonder if this is what's up with the bees.
What? Oh yeah, that could be too. 4G may even be damaging the bees. It's just, and it's just another one of this electromagnetic pollution.
Yeah.
And the thing is, they got to Yeah, it's one of those things. It's just technology wise, yeah, you can do a lot more bandwidth. Speeds are way up, but they're just ignoring the health benefit, the health destruction that it's going to cause.
Yeah.
And it will come out. They're going to do it. They're going to be terrible health benefits. There have been places that they put 5G, especially powerful Wi-Fi, and people in like businesses and stuff and government organizations, and it's just devastating on the people. Some people are more sensitive to electromagnetic radiation than other people, but everyone, the biochemistry, like cataracts and cancers, everyone's pretty much the same in that category.
Interesting. And, I find it interesting. I've been trying to confirm this, and I haven't really been able to confirm it to my satisfaction. Ken, have you seen any of the studies? It appears like one of the leading nations in the development of this technology is the nation of Israel, and yet they're not putting any 5G in Israel. Have you heard or read that?
I haven't heard that, but I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, they're not stupid. Why would you poison your own damn population? That would be ridiculous.
It's really interesting, and it's a little bit frightening, but I've got to believe that they're trying to take us down, but we can adapt and overcome. But we still don't want to just surrender it. If we can fight it, let's continue to fight it. But there's really doesn't look like there's much that we can do to say no.
Yeah, but there are ways to protect yourself besides C60. Obviously, C60 is a preventative nature, can prevent probably the cataracts from happening and the cancers. But there's still other things. Ever seen that the reflective window coatings that you have, the metallic reflective window coatings you're putting in door? 5G can't get through that. Blocks it almost entirely.
Interesting.
So if let's say you're trapped in a 5G environment, there's nothing, you could buy that stuff, and obviously you could put it on your windows so you could still see out. But because it's got a sticky side on the back, you could cover your walls, your floors, your ceilings, your doors, and you could make yourself a 5G safe room. And just by buying, it'd be a couple $100, but you could make a room totally 5G proof.
It wouldn't look too good, but you could.
And remember at the Leak conference, they had those little the tinfoil hats.
Yeah, I've got one here.
The cool looking. Yeah, you have one of those. You got sunglasses, and somebody was out there was talking about how somebody was going to be making these clothing with that same reflective fabric that you put on the windshield in clothing, so that like a hoodie or something. So you could put that on, and you could have like a 5G proof hoodie with your 5G proof sunglasses and maybe your tinfoil hat. And so you could reasonably protect yourself with that, and maybe get a pair of pants. So there are things you can do that'll become available, 5G protective clothing. But it's inconvenient. But if that's what you got to do, that's what you got to do to stay healthy.
It's terrible that it has to go to that. It really is. It really is just terrible.
But think of all the other things in our lives like that. Let's the glyphosate and other toxins in your food. You got to buy organic. They put fluoride in the water. You saw that one report. It just came out. Yeah, fluoride really does cause the people's IQ to go down, just like those conspiracy theorists back in the 60s said. It's a commie plot to make America stupid. Well, the Nazis and the Soviets used it in their prisoner of war camps to keep their prisoners complacent and unmotivated. Yeah. And then when they brought all the Nazi slaves here after World War II, the U.S. government discovered this. Wow, this is great. Let's put it in the water supply of our public. Okay, well, that's how they think about you, America. And it's finally come out now. It isn't some conspiracy theory. It's a coincidence theory. Yes, fluoride really does cause somewhere between 5% to 3.7% drop in IQ. And that's huge. That's huge.
Yeah, we can't afford it these days. That's for sure.
Yeah, and they did that purposely to the United States population. I mean, wake up, America. Wake up, people out there. Your government is not your friend.
That's absolutely true. Ken, tell us again the name of the website.
C60purplepower.com.
C60purplepower.com. You also what?
We also sell on Amazon.
Oh, okay. So great. Where's the best deal for people?
Probably the website. And we have, every now and then, we have like periodic sales.
Oh, okay.
And sometimes we used to announce them at the shows. We have the C60 show, the second and fourth Wednesday of the month. Tomorrow's one, 11 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. just tune in. It's live on YouTube, live on Facebook. So,
and what's the name of that?
The C60 Show.
And that's on YouTube and on Facebook.
Yep.
Excellent. Hey, just as we get ready to close here, do you have any ideas or thoughts on the fires down in the Amazon? What might have been causing them, and what's going on down there?
Well, it's planting season, and they use slash and burn agriculture.
Okay.
In the tropics. And so in the spring, it's the spring down there because it's the fall here. And so what they do is they set light to the forests, basically, and the fields to burn everything to ashes, and then that provides a certain amount of fertilizer.
Right.
And of course, they have that new president in Brazil, and he's kind of like, he's kind of relaxed all the regulations because they used to be kind of stopping the Amazon from being destroyed, and he's all in the industry pocket, gold miners, other extraction industry, timber people, right? So he's just let loose all the controls that used to be in there to stop that. So everybody's going out there and, burning the forest to make either grow new crops or to make things ready to go cut timber. So they're just kind of going wild and burning the forests. It's really, it's kind of terrible that, that's the lungs of the world. 20% of the oxygen is made there. If we destroy it, we destroy ourselves.
Okay. So it's not out of control. It's not like this out of control fire. It's people actually burning them to plant or to, do gold mining or something of that nature.
Exactly. Yeah. It's slash and burning agriculture.
Okay. And so it's something that the government of the country where it's going on is going to have to deal with it, right? I mean, we can't go down there. I thought, why won't we fly down some planes and just put it out? Well, it's not our business, right? Politically.
It's just, because, jungle soils don't last very long. And so, they slash and burn, they cut down everything, then they burn it. And then they could get a crop for maybe 2 or 3 years, and then the soil is exhausted. You have to move on to a new patch of pristine jungle, cut and burn it again and again and again. And so that's what's eating up the Amazon. And then who comes in later is the cattle ranchers move in afterwards because grass can grow in the areas, and then they take over. So, the jungle doesn't come back.
Well, that's interesting. I didn't know that. That's good information. I appreciate you bringing that to us, Ken. And I'm sure a lot of people appreciate hearing about C60, many for the first time, or if you have been considering C60, now you know a good, reliable source to get it from, C60purplepower.com. Ken, tell us about any shows or anything you have coming up, any events that you're going to be at, things of that nature.
Well, we have our show every second and fourth Wednesday, and I'm usually on various other internet shows sometimes. I do a lot of other things. I do the Moxie Fusion. I have a pulsar that makes plants grow faster. And so I work with Cliff High. They're still working on that, hacking the the galactic internet. So kind of alternative science and alternative political views. I mean, I'm just looking for people to think rationally and make decisions for themselves. That's kind of what I push for people to doing.
Because, do you have a website that shows some of this other research?
No, just occasionally I give it to shows that I do, Pigtail Girl and a few others, and I've posted it there, and you can find it if you look around. So you can see some of the science, and eventually we'll be the Moxie fusion reactor information on that. But right now we're getting a patent on it, and it's actually been open source to certain. There's certain governments working on it right now as we speak. So, and it's one of those things. Technology was originally somebody else discovered it. They got crushed. We redid the experiments. We're successful, third-party verified, and just to prevent that problem from happening again, we released it to various countries and organizations around the world. They're working on it now, and hey, it's maybe one of these days you'll be hearing about it, and it'll be powering your electricity near you.
Well, let's hope so. Ken, it's a pleasure having you on. It was nice to meet you out in Denver. Nice to see you again, and I'm looking forward to the next time that we can get together and we can have you back on the channel.
Well, thank you for having me, and I appreciate being here.
Absolutely. He's Ken Swartz. Remember, go to C60purplepower.com. Ken, I really appreciated you being here, and I do look forward to seeing you again, my friend. Okay?
Okay, great to see you.
Absolutely. Take care, Ken. Much appreciation. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I just wanted to I just wanted to give you a little bit of a follow-up here. You know, a lot of people in the chat room talking about the last show that we did. A lot of people upset about that. Take a look at the show. After 45 years, I finally know who Jesus is. It gives, I think, the final word of 45 years, over 100,000 hours of research. So, do take a look at that. It was the show I did right before this one. Professor Bauer, if you want to get Ken's email, I'll be glad to put you in touch with Ken. It does help with chronic pain. I appreciate all of the great questions and your attendance here tonight. And, I'm not here to bash anybody's faith. I'm not here to destroy anybody's faith, but neither am I here to prop up any of the fear and guilt control matrix. I'm here to tell you the truth as I've seen it, as I discovered it. I'm the only one in the world that does what I do, and I think I'm about the only one that has the experience and the qualification to bring you these things. So I've brought it to you. You can take it or you can leave it, but it is the objective, and it is the empirical truth. So I've left that there with you, and it is what it is. The thing that is the takeaway is that even if, as I have, I think, proven that Jesus is fake, he was never real, he's a creation to, number one, empower a fear and guilt control matrix that says that you are born with original sin, you have to have salvation, and he is the only savior. Plus, he is the head of a fear and guilt control matrix religion that empowers these priests and these imams and these pastors and and plus the governmental leaders to do what they will with us when they will. And they are not going to get rid of sodomy. They're not going to get rid of child abuse, because they've got a guy that they've created in Jesus who did what they're doing and gives them the justification to keep doing it. Go look at the video. If you think that's shocking, wait till you see that it's right in the Bible itself. But here's the point, folks. Jesus is fake. Religion is a fear and guilt control matrix. But there is a message, ladies and gentlemen. It's called the message of the anointing, not the message of the Christ. It's called the message of the anointing. The Christ is a mistranslation. It's called the message of the anointing, the message of the consecration, the message of the flow. And what that message says is that you are not filled with original sin. You have the spark of divinity within you, that the kingdom of God is in you. And when you love yourself and realize this, you will also then begin to love your neighbor and realize that they have the spark of divinity within them. And what that does is promotes what this message calls not only peace, but peace that passes all understanding. Peace with your neighbors next door, peace with your neighbors in other states, peace with your neighbors in other countries. And not only does this peace pass understanding, it also passes misunderstanding. Just because you can't understand why, how, where somebody does a certain thing doesn't mean that you have to hate them, and it certainly doesn't mean that you have to go to war with them. So when you know that you're divine, sovereign, and free, when you know your neighbor's divine, sovereign, and free, you can live in peace, peace that passes all understanding, and that allows all of us to live life, as this message says, but not only life more abundant. We can learn how to get out of these mud hut bodies and travel astrally. We can do the things that the message of the anointing says that will be greater than anything we've imagined. We can be the people we want to be. We can build the societies we want to build. And we can live in peace that passes all understanding while we build life and life more abundantly. That's what I'm all about. That's what unindoctrinate yourself is all about. And that's what you're going to be hearing from us. 45 years it took me to cure myself and free myself of the Jesus virus. And folks, until you free yourself of the Jesus virus, you are coming back again. You're on the reincarnation wheel. You will not ascend. You will not grow. You will not develop until you get rid of the Jesus virus, made, distributed, and empowered by Rome, i.e., one world government, Illuminati, Bilderbergers, the people that run the show. Jesus is their boy. And as long as you believe in them, as long as you believe in Jesus, you're their bitches. And bitches get stitches. That's what they say on the street. I don't want no stitches, ladies and gentlemen. I want to get the hell out of here. Trying to bring you a message of an indoctrination, trying to help you be your own guru, guide your own spirit, master your own ascension. You can take it or you can leave it, but it's the truth anyhow. And the truth will either set you free or cause you to attack me. And that's okay. If you love me, I prefer you love me, but at least hate me, because I can use that energy. I can transmute it and use it to power what I'm doing. And cousin, I am just getting started. We're changing the world from several different directions. We're making it a better place. And I'll do that with you by my side or you in my face. Doesn't matter. Love me, please, but at least hate me. Just don't be indifferent. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian Whistleblower. We do appreciate you so much for being here. Tomorrow, I've got a great show with Terrell Blackwood. Then we've got the great show from Gaia on Wednesday. Of course, we'll be back with Rocky Stucci, the Emotional Meatball. We'll be back with Wayne Steiger on the Sunday show. We're going to be traveling. We're going to be slamming. We're going to be jamming. A lot of great stuff going on. And if I told you the stuff that we're doing, you wouldn't believe it. So we'll just wait for it to happen. But things are fixing to get really, really exciting. We're still scheduling our date for Talk is Jericho with Chris Jericho. Sam Tripoli said we need to come back on the Tinfoil Hat podcast. So we're looking for that. We're doing our events in October back up in Minnesota at the Depot Bar and Grill at the Minnesota Renaissance grounds. So we'll be doing some great comedy, paranormal, and conspiracy talk and fun there. And this channel is getting ready to explode, folks. Trust me. And we are excited. We are empowered. And if I have made you really, really mad, remember, have I become your enemy because I've told you the truth? And everything I told you today was in the text. And the text doesn't care what you think. The text doesn't care what you've been taught. And the text doesn't care what any of your teachers teach or have been taught either. The text is plain. The text is real. And it's the text with which you got a deal. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian Whistleblower. We are the last generation of real humans. Either lead, follow, or get the hell out of our way, because we're fixing to get busy. And we can get it done as long as you're with me. Buckle up, cousins. Let's get this thing done.